How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne and this is PSReady, my channel all about PlayStation. In today's video, I've got three topics to cover. The first one is we finally have the biggest upgrade yet for the PS5. The second news story is that one of the first PS6 features leaked and I don't know, I don't think I like it. And third on the list, we're going to talk about if PlayStation has won the battle with Xbox without even really doing anything. Light the candles and get ready for a Greek-style birthday with this video's sponsor, World of Warships Legends. For 5 years, this massive multiplayer free-to-play naval console game has navigated the waters with legendary and iconic ships, and now they have a treat for you. World of Warships Legends is a strategic game available on PlayStation, PC, Xbox, Android, and iOS mobile platform. There are over 400 ships for you to navigate through 20+ maps of ocean waters. Invite players to jump straight into the action and enjoy intense battle. That's thanks to maps adapted for swift engagements and the focus on PvP battles ranging from 9v9 to exotic 3v3v3v3. There are 11 nations as well as Pan-American fleets waiting for you to command. Every 5 weeks the fleet will grow and there are 4 types of ships for you to command. Destroyers are swift and can launch surprise attacks and are armed with deadly torpedoes. Cruisers have more armor and ammunition, which makes them well-rounded fighters. Battleships are a floating fortress that can dispose of your opponent in one shot, but aim carefully, reloading takes time. These sturdy ships are ideal in a long battle. Aircraft carriers are the aerial assault and support of the sea. Control digital airspace to gather intelligence so you can support your allied ships while putting the enemy on the run. Now is the time to join the other 8 million commanders. World of Warships Legends is celebrating their 5th birthday Greek style. There are ships named after the Greek gods as well as a treasure hunt and unique rewards. The anniversary doesn't stop there though. There are new game features like the Fleets Cup Tournament and the US Hybrid Battleship line. And newcomers will receive a welcome pack of 2 Tier 3 ships, premium account access, camouflages, and common crates. All you need to do is click the link in the description and use the code listed. Thanks again to World of Warships Legends for sponsoring this video. All right, let's jump into this first news story here because I'm kind of excited about it, even though it's so far out of my price range that I don't think I'll ever be able to afford it. So, you know, the PS5 has the external SSD slot. It's actually an internal SSD slot, but I don't really know what to call it, like the extra SSD slot. And when the PS5 came out and they activated that slot, you would see prices be pretty high for even a 1TB SSD for your PS5. And then those prices fell when the 2TB drives came out. Those prices fell when the 4TB drives came out. And I hope the prices fall on this new SSD because it is over 8TB. And this is officially licensed by PlayStation. This isn't going to like overheat and absolutely brick your console if you put it in it because it's, again, officially licensed by PlayStation. So this one's coming from Western Digital. It's part of their WD Black line. And part of being licensed by PlayStation is that there's a little blue light on the SSD that lights up when it's active, but like you're never going to see it because the faceplates on the console are not clear. But well, you know, if you got some clear ones, that might be pretty cool because you could see a blue blinking light inside your console. But yeah, this thing costs over $900. It's actually $1,000, but I honestly don't think it's going to stay at that price very long because, you know, we all lived through this. When the 2TB drives came out, they were as much as $300 and they very quickly dropped as low as $170, which was the MSRP of a 1TB drive. And over on the Steam Deck side, if you like Steam Deck, subscribe to my channel Deck Ready. I do the same thing over there, 3 news videos a week talking about the Steam Deck. The drives in that were also exorbitantly expensive because it doesn't actually use a full-size SSD. It uses a 2230 drive, which is much smaller. So when I wanted to do a SSD upgrade with my launch Steam Deck, I ended up having to pay $300 for a 1TB one, and it wasn't even brand new. It was like recovered from an old Microsoft Surface. And then now you can get a 2TB drive for just over $100. So prices on storage and memory, they fall incredibly quick because they're always chasing the next carrot. I'm wondering if with the next generation, Sony's gonna pull a PS4 move and like make the drive 1TB again. Well, it wasn't even 1TB this time around. We had like 680 gigs of usable storage before the PS5 Slim, or if they're actually gonna do the right thing and launch it with at the very minimum 2TB. The thing that made me laugh about the product page for this 8TB drive is that it says you'll be able to fit 200 games. I remember when I got my first spinning disk 1TB hard drive for my gaming PC when I was a sophomore in college, and I was like, man, I'm never gonna run out of storage. I'm gonna be able to put 1,000 games on this. And now 1TB isn't even enough for like more than 3 games if you want to install Destiny 2, Call of Duty, and Diablo 4. And if you want to install NCAA or pretty much any big game out there these days, they're all well north of 100 gigabytes, which is absolutely insane. So even though they're making a claim of 200 games, I think you could fill up 8 terabytes very quickly with a lot less than 200 games. I think like the size of games has totally outpaced the actual size of storage at this point, and we're going to need some like quantum leap in terms of storage to make sure that we can actually fit as many games as we want on our consoles. And it's kind of up to Sony to figure that out, because they're the ones pushing us so hard into digital games. You've got the free games you get every month through PS Plus Essential, you've got the extra library which has hundreds of games in it, then you get the classics with PS Plus Premium. They're really getting to a point where they're just giving away so many digital games if you subscribe to these services that I think they need to start shipping these consoles with even more storage, because it's running out extremely quickly. And it's not like Sony is not blameless here either. I mean, their games are massive. If you want to download God of War Ragnarok on PC, I think it's like 186 gigabytes, which is around the same size as Call of Duty. I know it's smaller on PS5, but not by much. Gran Turismo 7, that's a live service game. It came out of the gate at a big file size, and every time they update it, it feels like they increase it by around 10 gigabytes. So yeah, something's got to change here. But if you want to future-proof yourself for the time being, you can go to Best Buy and pick up a WD Black 8 terabyte drive for $1,000. My money would say wait a little bit, because it'll drop probably down to like $500 or $600, and even at that price, I still don't think it's worth it, because the PS5 itself can be bought for less than $500, which is absolutely insane. Anyway, that brings us to the second news story here, which is that Sony has been leaking tons of features that they want to bring to the DualSense with the PS6, and this feature I genuinely don't like. So the reason we're hearing about this is because Sony loves to patent technology they're going to use in the future, and the big difference between Sony and everyone else is that if a patent makes it out into the wild, you can pretty much guarantee that it'll make its way into a future product in some way. There's plenty of examples of this, but the one we're talking about today is a completely buttonless controller. Now, if you take a look at the DualSense that they've come up with in this patent, you'll probably be reminded of that fake Nintendo Switch that came out and really tricked people back before the Switch was announced, where it was like an oval that was a touchscreen and had no controls on it. It was just two little handles on the sides of an oval shaped touchscreen, and it looked like a horrible experience playing the game, because if the touchscreen is under the buttons and that's the console you're playing on, you're gonna cover up the actual game with your thumbs by playing it, which, you know, is not great. This one's a little bit different, and I'd argue just slightly better, because, you know, the touchscreen on the controller is not the screen of the PlayStation 6. You'll theoretically be playing it on your television, so this is just a controller that you won't be looking at it. But if you've ever used a phone, even when you're looking at the screen in front of you while you're playing, I mean, touch controls just don't work right. Half the time when I'm playing Call of Duty Mobile on the treadmill at the gym, I miss my shots because, you know, my thumb goes off of the little thumbstick that you use to fire, and that's just like the most big high profile game on iOS, and that one can't even figure out touch controls. So if you're playing on a TV, it'd be like using your iPhone as the controller, and you wouldn't be looking at it because you're looking at the TV. It does come up with some pretty decent ideas, like being able to have your whole inventory or the map or something like that on this bottom screen type controller. But yeah, I don't think this is a great idea. Honestly, if they want to get my money for an extra DualSense with the PS6, whatever they call it, the DualSense 2, they need to remove the touchpad completely, because that thing sucks. No one really cares about it. They need to increase the battery life by at least 3 times. I mean, do you guys remember back to the PS3 days when we had the 6-axis and the DualShock 3, and the battery in that controller would last like days? I mean, if you've ever used the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, that thing is insane. It has the longest standby time of any controller I've ever used. Like, I barely play my Nintendo Switch, even when it was big. I would play it only when a new Mario game came out, and I was blown away by the fact that I would grab my super dusty Pro controller that I bought when the thing came out, and I'd be like, there's no way this thing still has a charge. And then magically, it would not only have a charge, but it would last through pretty much the entire Mario game. That's the technology that I need Sony to copy from Nintendo. I need bigger battery life in my DualSense that doesn't remove features like adaptive triggers or haptic feedback, because as we know, those are the coolest features Sony's ever come up with for a controller, pretty much ever. This is a really weird situation though, because with other companies, you'd be like, oh, they're just patenting it because they want to make sure other people don't beat them to the market with it. There's no guarantee this will ever come out. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this story, when Sony patents features, they usually end up coming out. I mean, the PS Portal was patented like 3 or 4 months before it was actually released, and if you look at the patent, it's exactly what they filed. Like, the PS Portal is exactly the same thing in reality as what they printed out on their little patent paper. So yeah, I really hope that whatever this is like a PS PS Portal successor because it does look a lot like the PS Portal, or it's an evolution of that weird buttonless spherical controller they patented a few months ago. I really don't understand why they're going down this path, because they already have the perfect controller, and the easiest thing to do would just be double the battery life, right? Like, give me a black DualSense Edge that has triple the battery life of the original DualSense, and I'll gladly pay another $200 for that controller, because the worst part of using a DualSense is that you have to charge it after you're done playing every time you play your PlayStation 5. The only way I get around that is by playing on PC with my DualSense Edge, because you have to use it wired. The Bluetooth connectivity is terrible. So right now I'm deep in Diablo 4. I'm level 50 with my Barbarian. I'm using a Bash cleave build, and it's awesome. So when I use the controller on my PC, it charges all the way up, and then I play it on my PS5, it runs out of battery, I go back to my PC, I plug it in, and it charges us back up. So it's like I don't have a lot of downtime where I can't use the controller, but if I didn't have that weird little system, I'd be charging that thing after every play session, you know? It's just like, it's not good. That's what they should be improving with future DualSenses, but I don't know, I might be wrong. Would you like a controller that doesn't have buttons on it other than the triggers and has just a big fat touchscreen in the middle? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, that brings us to the third news story here, which is just a quick recap of Gamescom. We're obviously going to focus on Indiana Jones coming over to PlayStation because that's kind of crazy, but I just want to talk about a couple other games that I thought were cool. I'm a Jeff Keighley fan. I've been to the Game Awards a couple times. I was at the Summer Game Fest in June. I thought it was pretty cool, but man, he's got to decrease the length of these shows and stop including so many freaking mobile games. I'm so sick of like a good game and then 50 bad games right in the middle that I don't care about. Like, there's no reason these shows need to be 2 hours long. The first thing I want to touch on real quick is Dying Light the Beast. This is something that feels like, you know, you come up with something in your brain as a fan of a franchise and then you get disappointed because you know the developer will never do it. This is exactly what I wanted Dying Light 2 to be. I thought Dying Light 2 was decent. I loved the gameplay and I loved the map, but obviously the story was very mediocre at best, and putting the paraglider 50 hours in, what the was that about? That sucked. And not having guns, that was the other dumb thing. And I know they added in guns later, but I haven't gone back and tried it out, so I don't know if that actually improved the game. Kyle Craneback is the main character. That's exactly what we're getting, but he's been experimented on for 10 years since the end of the first game, so you get the zombie powers from Dying Light, which is awesome. I wanted it to be a more tactical shooter, and that's exactly what they're doing. The guys in the beginning of the trailer look like Hunk from Resident Evil. They showed a compound bow, they showed tactical military rifles. Like, that's exactly what I wanted from Dying Light. It's a 20-hour open world game that seems awesome. It's set in the middle of a dark forest. I just think it looks great. The reason it's a smaller package than Dying Light 2, the 500-hour game, is because this actually was going to be the second DLC in the expansion pass that they sold with Dying Light 2, but they just made it so big that it's its own game. But the cool thing is, if you bought the Ultimate Edition of Dying Light 2, you get this expansion completely free, so I'm going to do that. Even though it is a standalone game, they're still just going to give it away if you already paid into it. I mean, they kind of have to, but I still think that's cool. There's no word on release date yet, but man, this would have been sweet if they shadow dropped it. Like, I don't know how much longer it's going to take, but I hope we don't have to wait too long for it. But yeah, the other big news is that Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation 5, which is cool. They said that it's coming in spring. You can head over to the PlayStation Store right now and pre-order the game, which is absolutely insane. This is just crazy because it really eliminates any need to own an Xbox console. If you only have to wait 3 months or so to get the games that come out on Xbox, you'd be stupid not to, because not only do you get to play it on the console you theoretically already have with the PlayStation 5, but on top of that, you're going to get arguably the best version of the game, because by that point, most of the DLC will be out, all of the day one patches and everything like that will be in the game. So by the time you play it, it's pretty much guaranteed to be the best version of the game. And I was always going to play this on PC. It's a first-person shooter, and I just love machine games on PC. I like using a keyboard and mouse, so it doesn't really matter all that much to me. But Indiana Jones, despite the last 2 movies, which are terrible, is a pretty big IP, and I feel like if Microsoft didn't announce that it was coming to PlayStation 5 and just did it a year later without saying anything, that would have been a better move for them, because they released new consoles today. They put out the new Series S, the Series X without a disc drive, and then the more expensive disc drive enabled Series X that has that cool galaxy print went all over it. Way to take the wind out of the sails in terms of releasing new hardware. I mean, that was the biggest game people had to look forward to for the end of this year. It's coming out in December. And now, if they don't have an Xbox, there's really no reason to buy one because they only have to wait around 3 months to play it on PlayStation 5. I don't know if this is the end of Xbox because we don't know if they're going to be releasing games like Gears E-Day or Fable on PlayStation or the next Forza Horizon or even Forza Horizon 5, but my money at this point would be on yes, that they are going to release these games, and Forza Horizon 5 is one that I would immediately download on my PlayStation because I don't like turning on my Xbox. I wish I didn't buy this thing because I never play any games on it, and when I play on PC, I don't have my save because on Steam, Xbox sucks and they make it so that your saves don't transfer between your Xbox with games like Horizon 5 or Starfield. So yeah, I'd like to have the game on PlayStation 5 and hopefully they implement that save feature there because for some reason they block it with the Xbox Series X. Anyway, we'll definitely talk about this more on Ray's channel in our 2-host video, so go subscribe to Xbox Ready if you haven't already. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.